Hey, what is going on, Liberty fans? My name is Nick Kirby, and welcome to the Sea of Red live podcast, the basketball edition. The show is presented, as always, by Jason Porter Real Estate, covering all of your residential and commercial real estate needs in the Lynchburg area. I am joined, as always, by the Reverend Will Matthews. Will, how appreciative of Coach Richie McKay are you this season?
Very. I'm just glad not to be talking about football.
Yeah. Moving on. Coming up on tonight's show, Kyle Rode is scheduled to join us. Talk about a busy week for the Flames. Played the Cancun Challenge, then came right back and played a home game yesterday. And of course, Richie Longshots will be by later on tonight with your best college basketball picks of the week. All right, before we get started tonight, if you are watching on YouTube, please take 2 seconds, hit that like button. While you're there, subscribe to the channel. Sea of Red pumping out all kinds of great content, some big-time press conferences. The views have been getting racked up on there. A certain press conference yesterday really got some love, but Sea of Red, all kinds of great content. John did a really cool interview this week that's up on YouTube. So make sure you check that out. Subscribe, like, all those things really helps us see a red continue to grow the channel and provide more content for you guys. And then the Sea of Red podcast is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Be sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on whatever your favorite platform is. We greatly appreciate it. And like I said, it really helps us continue to grow the show. So, Will, let's jump right into it before we get to Kyle Rode and talk about a big week for Liberty. The Cancun Challenge. Will, what's your kind of overall thoughts on these kind of tournaments?
Yeah, I like it, especially if we're going to have trouble scheduling. These tournaments give us a good chance to see some teams that maybe we wouldn't see otherwise on a neutral floor. I feel like it gives us a pretty good chance of getting some upsets, getting some signature wins on the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go real quickly go through these games, kind of give you a quick update on the week. Me and Will break each game down a little bit more later on in the show. But Liberty does fall to Northwestern in the first game of the week, 66-52. Liberty actually led by 12 points at one point in the first half. Darius Meade got in a little bit of foul trouble and just really weren't able to rebound from that. Well, what was kind of any thoughts on this game real quick?
Yeah, it seemed to be one of those games where maybe Northwestern didn't necessarily beat us. Maybe we beat ourselves a little bit in this one.
Yeah, definitely. In the 18 turnovers, I think would definitely kind of lean to that. And I know Richie McKay and his post-game press conferences, which is available on a Sea of Red YouTube channel, talked a lot about the turnovers, and I seem to be really disappointed in that. But that did sort of remedy itself a little bit the next day. Liberty got a big win over Bradley, 55-44. It was the fewest points that Bradley had scored in 112 games. So that in itself is pretty wild. Bradley also got their best player back later on in the week when they came back home. So Bradley, that might be a win that really ages well for Liberty. Will, any thoughts on this one? Holding the team to 44 points, is that kind of the vintage Liberty basketball?
Yeah, it seemed like after that incredible game against Southern Miss that they went into Cancun playing a little bit better defense, and that was probably the best defensive performance of this past week against Bradley. It was the best defensive performance of the week. And we said last week, just coming out of the tournament with one win, and we'd be okay with that. And Bradley is a decent team. They've been a decent team for years. They've been a tournament team. I believe picked second to win their conference. And so I thought it was a great win over a good mid-major team. I thought it was a nice win coming off that Northwestern game.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely agree with that. Blake Preston, really, really good in that game. Really cool to see him kind of just biding his time. And that was a game that was really a good matchup for him, and he really played really well, and was a huge reason Liberty was able to pull out that win. And then the Flames come back home, beat Delaware State 80-53, cover a 24-point spread, which is always cool. Really tough to do. It's not in Liberty style to run up the score. I know this game wasn't on TV. Me and Will didn't get to catch it. I did my best to follow on the radio. Alan York and Anthony Smith did an awesome job on the radio. But Will, Darius, 2,000 points. What a career! Fourth player joining Larry Blair and company. What's your thoughts on Darius hitting 2,000?
Somebody say Larry Blair. Yeah. I mean, it was great. Glad he came back for this season and able to accomplish that. I was committed to watching A Christmas Story with the family during this time, so I didn't get a chance to listen. I was on my phone a little bit looking at the stats, and this game was a step up from Regent. So that's about as positive as a thing coming out of that. But again, only 53 points allowed, 8 turnovers. Amazing, given what we've seen so far this year. So great, good win. And then we'll talk about some of the games coming up, but that was again a step up, maybe just a little bit from Regent.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Delaware State only lost to Villanova by 10, and they were a team last year that was pretty good at forcing turnovers. So yeah, the 8 turnovers really, really good. All right, well, let's get into it. We got our guy Kyle Road on. We're going to have him join us here in just a second. All right, we are joined now by Kyle Road and Jason Porter. This is the Liberty Player interview presented by Jason Porter Real Estate. Jason, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to have you ask Kyle the first question tonight.
Wow, right out of the bat, huh? Hi, guys. Good evening. Kyle, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for joining us. My question, I think, right out of the gate here is seeing a little bit of an interesting trend with you the last 3 games, man. You've been catching fire a little bit and heating up and shooting real well. Looks like you're shooting the stroke with some confidence. And then big rebound night against Bradley with 10 rebounds a couple of games ago. What's kind of clicking for you right now? How are you feeling? Are we just sort of maybe seeing that, or are you feeling some confidence and getting the stroke back?
No, feeling good, man. Like you said, like it always feels good when they go in, and even when you have some misses, man, you just gotta stay confident and shoot the next one, and that's what our team needs me to do. So I'm gonna keep doing that and keep repping that out. It's crazy when you go on those trips, man. There's not a lot of gym time either, so really got to just have a great mental toughness and stay confident.
Hey, Kyle, hope you had a good Thanksgiving. What did you guys eat for Thanksgiving? That's my question.
Yeah, man. So we played on the Wednesday, and then Thursday was our travel day. So got up, had breakfast at the resort, and then we were bussed out of there at 9:30. So bused there, it was like an hour and a half to the airport, 3.5-hour flight-ish to Charlotte. Got in like, let's say 4:45. Got to Lynchburg around 8:30 after a 3-and-something hour bus trip. So you can imagine the options in Lynchburg at 9 p.m. on Thanksgiving night were not ideal. So me and the wife had some oatmeal. I had an apple and crackers. So that was Thanksgiving dinner. But they made up for it last night after the game. They catered county smoke for us, and
nice.
Had a big spread of wings and sandwiches, and they're the best over there, man. So really appreciate Chelsea getting that for us yesterday.
Cal, what was the overall Cancun experience like? What'd you do when you got there? What'd you guys do to how's the practices and stuff? How's that all work?
Yeah, no, it's super cool. You don't leave the resort, so it's kind of cool. You literally walk in your slides to the practice court and to the locker room and back to your room, and there's a beach right outside your door, and it's a pretty cool experience, man. Have some high quality teams there. I think there's two divisions of 4 teams there. Just really cool. It brings you back to your AAU days a little bit. and it's a lot of fun because it's hoops and all you can eat food, and you can't beat that.
That's the best kind of all-inclusive right there, brother.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Kyle, you told me yesterday after the game that you said that you felt like you guys were just a couple steps away from clicking, really gelling and coming together. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, no, I think you kind of can see that. Like, for instance, the Southern Miss game. I mean, we go on a 26-0 run. Felt like we were doing a really good job defensively, and Peeves and Darius obviously are hitting shots. And then you look at the Northwestern game. I felt like we had a really good half of defense in that first half, and just a couple lapses here and there, man. It's just the margin of error shrinks when you play really good teams, and so I felt like we did a really good job the last two games of trying to put together 40 minutes defensively and offensively, and shots will come and go, but at the same time we want to hang our hat on the defensive end and trying to guard people. So I think the last 3 or 4 games, so we've really tried to focus on that, and to try to be who we are.
Yeah, Kyle, what was, we didn't get a chance to talk to you last week because you guys were on the road, but, that you mentioned that 26-point comeback. What was that like going through that? What was your perspective on that?
Yeah, it was honestly like I was going into some timeouts, and I was just like, the crowd was roaring. Peeves is one of my best friends. He was hot, and it was almost like one of those things where like, this feels like a movie, like coming back from 26, and everybody's saying the right things, right? Like when you're down 26, hey, let's just chip away. Hey, let's get it to 15. Hey, let's get it to 10. And then it starts actualizing. You're like, the belief keeps going up. And so it was just really cool, man. Even down 26, like the positivity, and we try to respond instead of react. We say that all the time. So we were just trying to respond one possession at a time, and fell up short in the end, but it was a great learning experience for us. And yeah.
Kyle, that Northwestern game, you guys got out to the 12-point lead early, and Darius had to sit with 2 fouls. Got kind of a two-part question for you, if you don't mind. First, how difficult is it when you have to sit for a long period of the half with 2 fouls to, kind of get back into your groove? And then second, what is your guys' strategy without Darius on the floor? Because you guys are obviously have to play quite a bit differently without Darius on the floor. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I think just from kind of my perspective, when you go out with 2 fouls, you're kind of frustrated, right? You're like, dang it, that stinks. I got 2 fouls. But at the same time, like you trust your teammates because they've been putting in the same work every day as you. And so you try to encourage and focus on like the positives of like, hey, like my brother gets to get in, or just try to kind of frame it like that because it keeps you out of the negative. But it is difficult to come back sometimes and not have a rhythm, or especially if you get a couple fouls like before the end of the half. You have a 15-minute halftime, sit out for 10, so you're probably really sitting for close to 30 minutes before you even touch the floor again sometimes. So it's definitely difficult, but you play basketball long enough, it's bound to happen. So you kind of figure out how to adjust to it. And then I think the Darius question, man, like having one of the best players in the country, like his usage rate is so elite for us, and we feel like he gives us the best chance to win when the ball's in his hands and making plays for our team. And so we just try to, obviously it's going to look a little different, but I think the concepts remain the same of playing together, playing unselfish, trying to touch the paint, get great shots. It just Darius makes us look really good sometimes.
Kyle, going into this year, everyone's of course matured a year and got some great freshmen with Cleveland, and obviously the best named player on the entire squad, Porter. I'm a little biased, but how do you feel like your role has changed a little bit this year as you've gotten older and definitely part of the upperclassmen set again? How's your role different this year than last year, maybe a little bit?
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of just increased just incrementally, just trying to get better, just keep shooting and keep creating for others. Darius coming back was huge for us, man. And losing a guy like Keegs, who was such a great leader for us and such a great shooter and did so many little things that people don't recognize too. So try to take on that a little bit, just help us in that way. But so I'd say those are probably the main things. But there's a lot of little things too that you gotta that you got to do, and that are tough to point out sometimes. But those are probably the main things.
Yeah, Kyle, just curious. You guys coming back from Cancun, and then I think you guys have like one more tournament coming up, but there's only 5 or 6, out of conference games left.
Yep.
Like, do these tournament games, does it help you guys going into regular season play, conference play, where some of these games, like you only see Bradley one time maybe in your career, but you see Stetson maybe 8 times in your career, so how do these kind of games kind of help you to going towards conference season?
Yeah, I think probably more so like the physicality in these games, like especially when you're playing really good mid-major teams, really good high major teams. The physicality is one thing for sure, just the level of intensity night in and night out. And then a lot of times in those tournaments, you're playing back-to-back days or one day rest in between. So it's a really good simulation of what March could look like, or what a Thursday, Saturday in the ASUN could look like. And it gives you a really good understanding of, hey, you got to know a scout in 24 hours. You got to know a new team. You know what I mean? So it's great from that perspective. And our coaches and athletic training staff do a great job of making sure we're prepared mentally, physically. And so it's really a cool experience early in the season.
Kyle, Blake Preston had a really good game against Bradley. Hadn't played a ton of minutes. Talk about him and how he was just, stayed ready, and maybe does he provide a different look for you guys that you guys in certain matchups can really exploit?
Yeah, 100%. BP is the same guy every single day, no matter how much he plays, no matter how much he scores. Like, his attitude is amazing, and I think I was so excited to see him dominate a team like that. Like, he's 6'10" and has energy and is just a beast for us. And like you said, provides a different look. It was a great matchup for him, obviously, and it was so excited he performed like that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kyle. Jason, wanted to ask you, as we're getting into December, getting into the holiday season, what's the real estate market look like, and what can you guys do to help out people in the Lynchburg area?
Yeah, definitely a transition in the market. Talked a little bit about that last week. Things have slowed a little bit. Depends on the interest rate for one thing. That's been a little bit of a reason for pause, but actually just had a contract last week. We were one of 7 offers on a place. So while it's slowed in some sectors, if the house is still ready to go and in good shape, it's going to sell pretty quickly. So we've got to be aggressive and be ready to go. A lot of game planning. I'll stay out of all the sports analogies, but definitely takes that mindset to be ready when something arises. And just as I've said in weeks past, I've got the full team ready to go. Got folks off the bench. Okay, I said it. But between lenders and my team's in place, ready to help anybody buying, selling, commercial, residential, doesn't matter. We're ready to go, and we're working right through December 31st, of course.
Awesome. Well, Jason, we really appreciate you, and hey, that was awesome for appreciate you and all you do for Flames fan and all your support of ASOR Red.
You bet. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Jason. All right, well, that was good stuff. Kyle, man, he always brings it every single interview. Really has some great insight. All right, let's dig into these games a little bit more. Let's talk about the Northwestern game a little bit more. I want to ask you about this, Will. I hate taking a player out with 2 fouls in the first half, especially a player of Darius McGee's caliber. And Richie McKay is not the only coach in the country that does this. There are so many coaches that do, but he only ended the game with 3 fouls. It's just like, man, I want to see them trust him a little bit more and let him play through that. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. Liberty had a chance to beat Northwestern. So do you want to sit Darius and kind of keep him out of foul trouble for the stretch? But at the same time, I mean, you don't really have anything to lose, even if you lose Darius in this situation. So I see it from both sides there. I thought maybe he should have got in towards the end of the first half, even with 2 fouls. And I just, thought it was a tale of 2 halves. And the first half was really good, even part of it without Darius. But I feel like they still look a little bit lost without Darius at times.
Yeah, I mean, you can see if you're watching the win probability, and it's not hard to tell when Darius came out of the game.
Yeah.
It was a quick downward trend. I don't know. I've thought about this a lot. I was really like, I can't stand that move. And again, he's not the only coach that does that. There's a lot of coaches that do that, and I can't stand it.
Yeah. And to your point, if he gets 3 fouls, and you still have a chance to beat Northwestern, maybe that's a good time to bench him over 2 fouls. Or even if you decide to let him in and he gets 4 fouls, definitely want to bench him at that point if you still have a chance to beat Northwestern. But finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No,
it's 2 fouls.
No, I thought about it a lot. I wonder if this is maybe one of these Richie McKay genius things where early in the year he wants Darius to learn, hey, you can't pick up fouls. I want Darius to play like one of my favorite players of all time, Jimmer Fredette. When he was at BYU, he never committed a foul because he just like didn't like ever like play tough defense. Like I don't need Darius to be reaching in. Like Darius is too important to pick up any kind of fouls. If Darius commits a foul, like he should be knocking someone over is kind of, how I'm looking at it. I don't want any cheap fouls. They can't afford to not have him on the floor.
Yeah, I don't know that McKay needs to send any kind of signals to McGee at this point in McGee's career. I just think the size of Northwestern over Liberty, just watching the game, I just thought it lent itself towards Liberty fouling a little bit more, and unfortunately, it was Darius that did it.
Yeah, but nonetheless, like on the Spaces last night, talking about Liberty football, it's cool that we're upset or disappointed that we lost to Northwestern. 5 years ago would have been, hey, we played well, we competed with them, yay. I didn't leave feeling great. I was disappointed, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing for the state of the program.
Yeah, again, I mean, I said this, except for the top 5 or 6 teams maybe in the country, and we saw Alabama beat Carolina, number 1 team in the country, in 4 overtimes tonight. But outside of the top, 5 or 6 teams, like I don't think that there's anybody that Liberty can't compete with. I mean, I don't look at hardly any teams and say, that's going to be a blowout. I mean, there's a very few, but I just think given the defense, and if Darius goes off or somebody else goes off, I mean, we see Brody do that. I give Liberty a fighting chance against anybody.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next game. Liberty knocking off Bradley. This was maybe one of the most encouraging Liberty games that I've watched in a long time,
Yeah.
And I'm not we got to hold teams under 50 points, 60 points. I look at the efficiency numbers, and the efficiency numbers, this is one of the most efficient games defensively since Richie McKay's come back. And these were the kind of games that Liberty played a lot in 2019, 2020, when they were at, I think the peak of Liberty basketball to this point. Man, this game was just Bradley had no answer. They had them completely confused. This was just such a good game for Liberty overall, and the 55 points. Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's not great, but these are the kind of games that you're going to have to win in the ASUN tournament, is these style games that are these grinded out games. And that to me was really encouraging.
Mm-hmm. And I thought Bradley's defense was pretty good in that game. If you go back and look at some of our games, even going back towards the end of last year, a lot of teams are scoring a lot of points against our defense. And so to see kind of that switch back to a low scoring game against a good Division I opponent, not considering Clark Summit or whoever we might play, or Carver or whatever. You take those games out where they're scoring 38 points a game. It was good to see, this kind of game. What I loved about our defense, and I love it every single game, is when Isaiah Warfield comes off the bench and he is just diving on the floor. He is tying people up. I almost want to ask Kyle if they expect Warfield to get them into a melee at some point, because he is going to tackle somebody to get the ball. And so he's just an explosive defensive player off the bench. And when him and Vincent are on the floor at the same time, I feel like we have a pretty good shot at keeping the other team at a low scoring pace.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like Warfield's the kind of guy that's just like the most annoying guy to play against. But after he picks your pocket, he says, "Hey, sorry about that. My bad." Like, he seems like such a nice guy that he probably does. Lastly, my guy, Blake Preston. Oh man, it was so good to see him play well. I think Blake's going to have some matchups that just really work for him. He's such an efficient player, man. He who doesn't never take a bad shot? Blake Preston, because they're all dunks. They're all dunks.
Yeah.
That's my kind of guy. Doesn't take any bad shots. Really good game for him, and I love that there's going to be certain matchups for him. I'm excited to see kind of how Richie McKay can use him throughout the year. And sorry, here's the numbers for Liberty. This was the best efficiency rating for Liberty since the Missouri game, and then before that was all the way back in December of 2020. And then this was the one of the lowest scoring games for Liberty in the Kenpom era since 2001, 2002. This was the 7th lowest scoring out of any game. So pretty wild numbers there defensively. All right, then at Delaware State, we talked about it. I mean, just the 8 turnovers, that to me is just so encouraging. That's turnovers of defense were the 2 biggest issues for Liberty. We hammered it last week, and both of those things they took major strides, I thought, this week towards correcting, which is going to be really big as we kind of get into the schedule and talk about some of these games coming up here in a couple weeks. But Darius McGee, 2,000 points, 5 rate for 3 in this game. Just, man, what a player. I'm just waiting for. Are you kind of waiting for that stretch where Darius just goes insane for a couple weeks? Like, it's coming at some point.
Yeah, you hope it is. I mean, you see the way that teams play him. Again, to your point, turnover, a great turnover rate, I guess. Northwestern felt like a game that if it weren't for the turnovers, we might win that game. Bradley, the turnovers came down a little bit. And this one, of course, we didn't get to actually see it, but just looking at the stat sheet, the turnovers there, and then what can you say about Darius? I mean, 23 points, 5 out of 8, 3 points. I can't remember what game it was. Well, it was this game where the first half, our 3-point percentage was like crazy. And then the second half, it dropped drastically. And I don't, not being able to see the game or listen to the game, I don't know, kind of what what that looked like. But yeah, Darius is kind of due for one of those games at this point where he's going to drop 40 on somebody.
Yeah, the difference of turnovers in the Northwestern game, 27.6% of the possessions Liberty had turned into a turnover. So one of every 4. Delaware State was 12.3. So that's a massive, difference. And obviously a lot of credit to Northwestern. But like I said, Delaware State was a pretty good team last year in forcing turnovers. It was one of the things that they actually did fairly well. So yeah.
Well, I wish LFSN would have showed this game instead of the New Mexico State game.
I'm going to keep my comments to myself on that, but I think you know where I stand. All right, here's the upcoming schedule. It's going to be kind of a boring, what are we at, 15 days, something like that for Liberty. Maryland Eastern Shore, they've done some good things. They they've actually their Kenpom ranking has gone up quite a bit since the start of the season, but that's still obviously a game. 92%. Liberty should take care of business, and then Clark Summit. But then we got a big week here coming up with at Oral Roberts. That's a Monday night game. Really excited for that. That's going to be one of the great, not only games for Liberty, one of the great mid-major games of the entire year. And then a home game against Bryant, who also has played really well over the last couple weeks. Their Kenpom ranking has been shooting up. Will, what are you kind of looking at here these next couple weeks, kind of heading into we're only down to 4 Division I non-conference games left until conference play.
Yeah, over the last few games, you kind of start seeing kind of what rotations Coach McKay looks like he's going to go with through the season. So against Maryland, Eastern Shore, and Clark Summit, we might see some guys play more than we have seen. Then going into that Oral Roberts and Bryant game, it seems like every team in the ASUN has had some kind of P5 signature win this year, except for us. But I mean, I would take a win over Oral Roberts and Bryant and put those up against, because those are going to be 2 difficult teams. And as you can see there by the percentages that we have to win, Oral Roberts 41%, Bryant slightly better, but that's still going to be a tough matchup. So I'm looking forward to those 2 games before we go against Bellarmine there on the 27th, right after Christmas.
I think we're really going to have a good idea of what to expect after that week. Liberty goes and takes care of business of both those 2 teams. I'm going to feel really good about Liberty's chances to not only win the ASUN, but maybe win the ASUN sort of convincingly. They struggle in that. Okay, we've seen a lot of these ASUN teams play really well. We're going to get to them in a minute. I'm going to maybe be a little less confident. Is that kind of where you're at?
Yeah, I'm kind of at a place where I still don't really know what to make of this team. It's been difficult to really kind of get a grasp on it, given what our schedule has looked like. And, some games where we thought, man, we should have been in that more. We should have won that, but we kind of killed ourselves with turnovers and not being able to shoot. And then, it seems like the next game we have an incredible defense that we didn't see before. So I'm with you. I think Oral Roberts and Bryant, that little 2-game stretch right there, I think that's going to tell us a lot about the identity of this basketball team.
Yeah, really good question here. Am I the only one who thinks that we are still struggling a bit to find a rotation? It's a good problem to have so much depth and talent, but it's tough. Really, really good comment. The Bradley game was fascinating if you look through the box score. Richie only played 7 guys more than 20 minutes. And the only other guy that played was Brody, who only played 6 minutes, which was fascinating. I'm assuming that was probably defensively, and Richie in his postgame didn't particularly say that, but that's kind of what it felt like he was insinuating. They really cut that rotation down to 7 guys. And with that rotation cut down, they were able to have one of their best defensive games in a long, long time. So I think maybe, dwindling down a little bit. I think Brody's going to have to, maybe clean up some of those defensive deficiencies that he might have. But there might also be game to game.
Yeah.
Who you really see. I think this team is going to really just try to exploit matchups.
Yeah, and there's probably some other factors that we don't know about, right? I mean, somebody's got a call for somebody's, not feeling that great or, something like that. So, it was a little bit of a head scratcher with Brody not playing as much there, especially the role that he had in that Southern Miss game. But I think McKay probably has a good idea at this point in the season, kind of what he wants to do going forward.
Yeah. All right, let's talk real quick about the ASUN. If you're watching, here's the updated Kenpom rankings. The ASUN continues. If we saw this graphic at the beginning of the year, you look at these numbers and almost everyone is up. The ASUN overall has moved up to the 19th best conference. They started the year 21st. So that is, that's good. This stuff all matters, for Liberty's computer numbers and all that, how well everyone else does. Some of the highlights: Jacksonville, a 19-point win at Campbell. Campbell had just beat Kennesaw down pretty good. So that was a big win for them. Florida Gulf Coast, man, they just continue to climb. They won the Gulf Coast Showcase. That was kind of one of their own tournaments. But they did have 3 pretty quality mid-major teams in that: NKU, Drexel, and Kansas City. So FGCU, man, I am pumped to watch Liberty FGCU. Pat Chambers, really, really good coach. Came from Penn State. I don't think really got a fair shake there. Had great computer numbers, but wasn't able to get to the tournament except for the COVID year. The tournament got canceled. He would have been in. So really kind of got a tough shake there. Lipscomb won at Chattanooga. That's a top 170 team, so good for them. Kennesaw lost in the last second at VCU this week, so good for them. The only bad thing is Jacksonville State. They just continue to struggle. Their numbers continue to plummet. They got blown out by New Mexico over the weekend. So I know that's a team with a lot of new pieces. I would never count them out, that they couldn't be a team that kind of figures it out towards the end of the year and is one of those really, really dangerous teams in the ASUN tournament. But I think they're pretty clearly not going to be an ASUN contender in the regular season, at least at this point. Any thoughts on the ASUN overall, Will?
I'm still impressed with Queens. I mean, their coach got suspended to start the season, and all they did was go and win 4 games of the 5 games that he was suspended against pretty good competition there. It seems like ASUN really knows how to pick those non-Division I teams to come up and to move into the ASUN, as they did with Bellarmine last year and Queens this year. FGCU, I think they're really good, and obviously they are. And I think, right now, if I were Richie Longshots, I would put the over on FGCU and Liberty in the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. FGCU Jacksonville is a New Year's Eve game. I don't know what time that game is, but that's the first game for FGCU is against Jacksonville. So that is going to be a fun matchup. That is one I'm going to be glued into for sure. Good question here from Aaron. I feel like we should play Brody more. He's a replacement for Keegan, and we need that scoring. I would love us to figure out a lineup with him in it more often. Yeah, I mean, definitely you saw how capable Brody is against Southern Miss. Love that comment, Aaron. But at the same time, you also saw how well Liberty played against Bradley, how dominant they were against Bradley. That was an 11-point win that was never really close. So I totally want Brody out there as much as I can, but Liberty's problem has not been shooting at all. They've been shooting lights out. It's been turning the ball over and playing defense. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there with that. But I have a feeling Brody's going to I have a feeling Brody is going to have a say in this towards the end of the year. I think he's going to find a way to get some more minutes. And it might be some of the Richie McKay psychology, too. You never can count that out. Andy asks, is this a basketball stream only? Tonight it is. Yes. No. If you have any football questions, let Will know. I know absolutely nothing about football, so I'm happy to. We'll answer anything and everything that's a PG or cleaner. But I'm not going to have any sort of relatively good insight. But
we'll have to call Chad and get him to jump on, or John or somebody else that maybe probably has some better opinions than I do at this point right now. I put too much salt out there on Twitter this weekend that I probably needed to walk back.
Yeah, stay clear. All right. The net rankings, they're coming out December 5th. Will, how pumped are you?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm pumped or not about the net ratings. It'll be interesting to see kind of where Liberty lands at with that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's funny you asked, Will. The net rankings are like Christmas morning for a nerd like me. I can't wait for that. I'll be digging into it. So I'm going to give you a quick little synopsis here. So Kenpom rankings, we've talked about this before, but if you haven't heard my rant on that, so Kenpom at this point in the year still has a lot of preseason data built into it. So Liberty's ranking of, I think, 95, 96. They keep fluctuating every couple hours. That's not a true rating because that is still, they're getting a benefit of the doubt coming into the year. Another site called Torvik is really good. It's kind of a Kenpom knockoff, to be honest, but they do have a lot of really cool resources there. So it's a free site. So if you don't want to pay the $22, Kenpom just jacked up their prices to $22 a year for the game logs, all that kind of data. Torvik is a good alternative to that. And one cool thing that Torvik does that Kenpom doesn't do is they allow you to view a team's ratings from certain dates. So if you're watching on the screen here, it might be kind of hard to read. Sorry about that. But this is the true to form rankings in the ASUN. So this has no preseason data at all. Stetson is the top team at 95. Liberty's at 129. So Liberty's not that far off. That Kenpom baked in preseason rankings maybe is giving them about 30 spots, but Liberty's also got some time to make that up because Kenpom, by about the time you get into January, mid-January, it'll be completely this year. So if you're wondering where's Liberty going to be in the net, this is probably your best guess. Now, the net has a lot of other weird quirks to it. It's not completely just based off of like the metrics like Torvik or like Kenpom. There's a lot of strength of schedule type stuff that factors a little bit more. But if you're asking me, where do you think Liberty's going to be? My best educated guess is probably around that 129 number right now. Liberty's not going to have any games that are going to really change that before that December 5th release. So I would say that 120 to 160 range, to be honest, is probably about where I'd see Liberty. But Liberty can certainly climb back up on that as the year goes on, and you continue to cover spreads. That helps out a lot in that. So, any surprises there for you, Will? Stetson at the top is
Stetson, Stetson, the one that jumps out because I'm so used to looking at that Kenpom screen that you show us every week. So that's the only one. I mean, everything else is kind of, about what you would expect if you were going to just look at Kenpom. I'm just thinking with, it seems like we're all, except for maybe a few teams and Liberty too, being at the top of the Kenpom, everybody seems kind of bunched together. It's going to be interesting when conference play to see who beats up on who, and what kind of advantage, if Liberty can take care of its business, what kind of advantage that gives us overall.
Yes, Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast top 100 teams just on the data this year, and there's no teams in the 300s. So, tell you, man, the ASUN, I've been so impressed. I know we're so excited to jump into Conference USA, and it's still going to be a much better league. Don't get me wrong at all. But it's still really cool to see the ASUN, at least this last year, before they lose a lot of their really good teams, to really be strong. And maybe Florida Gulf Coast is setting themselves up to dominate this conference after Liberty and Jacksonville State and Kennesaw bounce.
And Stetson, I feel like much like Liberty is kind of a hard team to kind of figure out where they are. I mean, they've kind of played a schedule maybe a little bit similar to ours, where they've beat up on some non-Division I teams. They do have that signature win. I guess it's a signature win at Florida State. I mean, it's an ACC school and it's in state for them, and South Florida as well. But then, they lost to Campbell in overtime today, and I don't know how Campbell is this year. And they lost a close game to Niagara. That was the one we talked about last year, or last week, that tournament in Ireland. So it seems like they're also a little bit hard to have a grasp on as well.
Yeah, I could see Liberty playing a tight game against Stetson or beating them by 30. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Chad Hassan, breaking news in this chat tonight. Stay tuned. So I don't know if Chad's gonna hijack the show. He's welcome to. This is his baby.
Chad.
So.
Yeah, Chad and the Mrs. are watching on TV tonight. So shout out to the Hassan family.
What a way to spend a Sunday night. That's beautiful.
Watching us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for. All right, Will, what time is it?
Liberty Line.
Richie Longshots. Oh wow!
What's up?
Look
Man,
at that
dressed up
shirt.
for the show tonight.
Wow!
Yeah, I flew back from a little dinner with the wife and some family, and made it home with about 5 minutes to spare. So we made it happen. We got here in time.
What a guy! He could never miss a show. He's just on it. Hey, and Bill Powell and the missus are watching.
Oh, I got to be on my best behavior tonight then.
Yeah. Let's keep it. Let's keep it at least PG-13.
Is there news to break? Is there something going on?
I don't know. I want Chad to just jump on here and break it. That's what
I hope it has something to do
Chad,
with
text me.
Deion
I'll break the
Sanders.
news. Yes, Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders. I'm not an insider, but I'm confidently inside enough to say that Deion Sanders will not be the next coach of Liberty University. I will confidently say, like, there's a few names, and I did a blog that might drop soon where I break down the list of potential coaches with what I think the odds are, and I didn't even put Deion on the list.
With
it would make Kirby and I happy because he's a former Brave and a former Reds player.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it. It would be a hoot, but I'm a logical person.
Boo. Chad taking shots on here without
jeez.
Come on, Chad.
Boom roasted.
Sheesh. All right. Well, here's what we did.
Nice.
Here's what we did last week. No one had a good week except for John Manson, Chad. John was 6-5. How about that? We were 5-6. The death pick of Delaware State plus 24. We called it last week. We said Liberty's definitely going to cover, and it happened. So anytime we all pick the same game, go bet the mortgage against the other because it's definitely going to happen.
And we couldn't even watch that game. That was I had people like tweeting me like, "Hey, how do I watch this game?" I'm like, "You can't, and you don't need to. Keep it moving."
Keep it moving. Oh yeah, my worst. I started 4-0. My worst one. Oh man, North Florida. Whew. I don't know what was I thinking. That and Jacksonville State. I knew those were bad picks, and sure enough, they were really really bad picks.
I'm just looking at that Dayton final score. I'm glad I didn't watch that game because that had to have been in the same breath as us and Bradley, where I'm like, I can't watch this game anymore. This is setting basketball back years at a time.
Yeah, that's not good for anything. All right,
no.
Our picks of the week for week 4. Let's have a good week, everyone. Yeah. Richie Longshots leading the way at 20-11-1. I'm second, but still under 500. Nothing to write home about. 15-17. Chad at 14-18. And hey, John, he's coming back. He's 12-20. Could he catch Chad this week? He might catch me. So we'll see.
It's tight.
Maybe he catches him, early on with 2 different picks right off the gate here. So Tuesday night, Virginia -5 at Michigan. Longshots, me and you both liked Virginia -5. This was a tough game. I went back and forth in this, but I just think Virginia is so much better of a team.
Yep.
That I went with it, but I don't love this. I don't love this line at all.
No, I looked at it and I just looked at kind of who Virginia has played so far this year. I think it's a team that's not going to mind going on the road. Like I texted you earlier, I did some legit kind of research for this week, so I feel good. I saw 5 and 6 isn't enough to get it done. I gotta get back in the lab and do what I have to do. So I'm pulling up my notes now. So I'll be going back and forth, but I just think Virginia, they've played some better teams. It's going to be a marquee game. They're 5-0 on the year. Michigan 2-4 against the spread this year, 1-3 at home. So give me, Virginia 1-0 on the road this year against the spread. So I think, Virginia's going to be able to score points.
Yeah, second game, Queens at Bowling Green. Bowling Green, a 1-point favorite. John is the only dissenter here, going with taking Queens +1 on the road. I didn't love this game. I wouldn't want to actually bet real money on this. That's why I love to put these kind of games on there because they're tough. Yeah, I just went with the home team. I mean, that's pretty much my thought here. I went with the home team. I don't think either one of these teams are really all that good.
I think Bowling Green. like ESPN gave them like a 68% chance to win the game, or it was something like along those lines. They've played a little bit of a tougher schedule than Queens. They've played St. Bonaventure, they've played Notre Dame. So I just, you know what, give me the home team.
Yeah, go with the Falcons. Go with the Falcons.
Yeah.
Bellarmine at Kentucky. Bellarmine covered at Duke last week. I think Duke is better right now than Kentucky. That was my line of thinking here. And Bellarmine's just a team that's really hard to cover a 25-point spread against, just the way they play. They're going to be able to find ways to score some points against Kentucky. I think this game will never be close, but it's hard to see Kentucky covering 25 points.
And there's also a low-key look-ahead game. Kentucky, I know they just played North Florida, but tough loss to Gonzaga. Their next game against Michigan at Michigan. So, definitely going to be something they're going to be looking forward. So, in the same boat, Bellarmine should be able to keep it close. Not keep it close, but keep it within the number. Hopefully they don't get blown out too bad. But yeah, Bellarmine just played UCLA, lost by 21. So they can keep it close. They kept it close against Duke with those big spreads. So I like that in a team when they're a big time long shot.
Yeah. First game we feel different on, North Carolina at Indiana. I haven't been a big believer in the Tar Heels, man. 6 points on the road. I don't think Indiana's, necessarily a great team, but I can't trust North Carolina to cover 6 points on the road.
And I made this pick before they played in a quadruple overtime game today. So that wasn't, I didn't factor that into everything. I just want that on the record because a 4 overtime game, you literally just played another half of college basketball. So not sure how much I love that. UNC against the spread, 1-5 this year. Not great. But Indiana, their schedule so far this year, JSU, Little Rock, Arkansas, Miami of Ohio, Xavier, a team named BCU. I don't know who that is. So, they haven't really played anyone quite like North Carolina yet. So that's my rationale there. And I'll always root for the Tar Heels. So my hatred for Duke runs that deep.
All right. Jacksonville at UAB. We're split on this one as well. Split across the board. You and Chad going with UAB minus 13. Me and John going with Jacksonville. I love UAB. I keep betting and picking against them. I think they are a great mid-major team, but their lines are just so big. Like, they have really great, like, Kenpom numbers, but 13 points against Jacksonville team that's a good defensive team. I think UAB is a great team. I just don't like 13 points.
It is when they played USF last week. This past week, spread was 16.5. They didn't cover. They did play Presbyterian, blew the doors off of them, but obviously Jacksonville's a little bit better than them. I just like UAB at home, 2-0 this year against the spread, and good numbers defensively. I think it's be one of the better teams Jacksonville's played defensively. Other than Duke, but they got blown out against Duke, so who knows what they're going to be bringing. But give me the home team in that game, and fingers crossed.
Yeah, fun game to watch. All right, the kiss of death of the week goes to Florida Gulf Coast. We all four said they'll cover 2 points against Georgia Southern. I mean, I don't know how Florida Gulf Coast is an underdog in this.
I'm the same way. There's no way when that spread goes live, Wednesday morning, that line's going to be 2.
I don't know. I don't know. Southern Miss was an underdog, a 2-point underdog in a game this week that they blew the doors off someone. I don't even remember who they played, but I don't know. Vegas doesn't always get these mid-major games right. Georgia Southern's a decent team. Actually won some money on them today covering a spread. But yeah, I don't love that.
They've been decent this year. But I just like Florida. If it's a coin flip game, which I think it is, give me the team that's catching a couple points.
Yeah. One of the games of the week, Creighton at Texas. Excited about this. Went back and forth a lot in this. I mean, Creighton was a preseason top 10 team. Texas, has been the darling so far this year. I think they're number one right now in Kenpom. I mean, I love Texas in this game. I think they're absolutely going to win. 8 points is a lot. That was my rationale with why I went in Creighton. But long shots, you think Texas is going to get it done? You think they're going to cover the 8 points?
I do. I think they've had enough time from Gonzaga where they got through the games that would have been a letdown. Creighton just lost at Arizona. They just played, games back to back to back. Texas Tech, Arkansas, Arizona, and then, they'll have a little bit of time off, but might be too much time off. Going into Texas is going to be a tough place to play, and I like Texas a lot this year. They are the darlings, and I think it's for good reason, but I do think this is the marquee game of the week. Definitely one I'm going to watch.
Well, Gonzaga at Baylor. We all took Baylor -1. This is a neutral site game. I mean, it is actually a coin flip game. I think I could see this game going either way. Chad's the only one who took Gonzaga, took the point. I don't hate that. It's just really which team shows up.
Yes. Packers game.
He never.
No, their cut's coming back.
He never sleeps.
No. Got to keep it moving. Listen, I saw a tweet. Today could be the luckiest day of my life, and I wouldn't know if I wasn't gambling. So.
All right, but me and long shots and John got Baylor -1.
Why is this game in South Dakota?
I think it's a tournament.
What's in South? It's a tournament. Okay.
They do a tournament at I think it's called the Pentagon.
It says Stanford Sports Pentagon.
Yeah, it may not be a tournament. It may be more of like a showcase type thing.
Okay.
Because obviously Gonzaga and Baylor wouldn't be playing the first game.
No.
If it was a tournament. I think it's like a showcase or maybe, there's multiple games. I think they have men and women's. It's a whole.
And the game is on Peacock. So if you need my login for that, let me know.
I actually have Peacock. So yeah.
Oh, there you go.
They got the Hallmark channel. So, we're locked into that this time of year.
Big time of year for the Hallmark channel. I walked into my parents' house, pick up the dog, and Hallmark channel, Christmas movie.
They also have the WWE Network.
Yes, they do. I caught the end of War Games yesterday.
It was good.
I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I will admit when they do a good job. They did a good job. I won't be a hater all the time.
All right, yeah. Go from Hallmark to WWE. I mean, it flows well.
We're ready for everything.
EKU +16 at JMU. Our guy John is taking the Duke Dogs to cover a 16-point spread. EKU is the kind of team that you never know what to expect. They play that super fast tempo. So, yeah, I mean, they could absolutely get run out of the building against anyone if they're not shooting, but I can't. 16 points.
It's a lot of points. JMU this year, though, 4-1 against the spread. Kind of impressive, but they ended up, I texted you, we were like, that's so many points. JMU was losing to Valparaiso. Shout out to my Lutheran schools out there. And they came back and lost by 2, but the spread was 15.5, and they lost outright. So give me all the points. They have been, crunching numbers, they have been double-digit favorites twice this year, and they've only covered once, or 3 times they've only covered once. So it's a lot of points for them to cover. Also, side note, I need an AJ Brown touchdown to win like $500. So
wow,
we're trying to get that home. That'll save the weekend.
Let me get that
one. You put that in my children's college fund.
It's 10%, baby. You know how it goes.
Let me get that 100 gambling number up on the screen after 500 bills are being discussed. All right. The second kiss of death of the week, Liberty -16, Maryland Eastern Shore. I just, the Delaware State was 24. This one's only 16. I think Liberty will cover this. They don't have a lot of games to prepare for this upcoming weeks. So they're going to have all the time in the world to prepare for Maryland Eastern Shore. I know Richie wants the boys to really have some good performances in these. This is their last. Is this their last? Second to last home non-conference game. The other one's against Grambling. So they're going to want to play well in these home games. So I think they'll cover the 16. But again, it is the kiss of death. So
I'm in the same boat. I think it'll be similar to what we didn't see on Saturday night. Last game before a little bit of a layoff before the two big Oral Roberts Bryant game. The Bryant game is going to be awesome. John Rothstein has been tweeting about this game like all summer. He's been like, this is a huge mid-major game. He's like, Darius McGee, like, I have never said it on here, but I think that game against Bryant is the biggest non-conference game. Take out the Alabama. Like, obviously those games are important to win, but when you look at like mid-major, the scope of everything, that's going to be a really good test of, where we're at getting ready for ASUN play.
Yeah. The Oral Roberts one could do a lot more help to like the net ranks and stuff like that because it's a true road game. I don't know if they'll classify that as like a semi-road game for Liberty. I think Kenpom will call the Bryant game a semi-road game. I don't know if the net will call it a full neutral game or not because it is in Massachusetts. So it's definitely a much bigger advantage for Bradley. All right, and then the last game of the week. Longshots went with John on St. Mary's. I know Houston played a pretty poor performance. They were able to sneak away against Kent State. I think Houston's the best team in the country. I love this Houston team. They didn't show it yesterday, but put them up against anyone. I think right now they're the best. They may not be the best at the end of the year. Some of these teams with some younger talent might surpass them. But if the NCAA tournament started tomorrow, I would pick Houston to win the title. So 8 points against St. Mary's, no brainer for me.
I don't love who Houston has played. St. Joe's, Oral Roberts, obviously, a nice win. Texas State, Oregon, Kent State, who they struggled with. And I think St. Mary's, Washington, Vandy, they played some Power 5 teams, and just 8 points. And I always like St. Mary's. They're always they're used to playing those big games against Gonzaga. So just thought 8 points. I'll take the points.
Yeah, no disrespect to the Gales, great program. Yeah. What Randy Bennett has done there, one of the most impressive coaching jobs over the last decade plus in college basketball, because that is a tiny, tiny school that had like literally no basketball program at all before he came, and he's turned them into a perennial top 25 borderline team every single year. So all the credit in the world. Like I said, I think Houston right now is the best team in the country. So I'm going to pick them against the spread, pretty much against anyone until I really feel otherwise.
They'll be one on Monday, tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah. Or Texas,
with
maybe
North
Texas,
Carolina losing.
Maybe Texas passes.
Maybe
them.
Texas.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah.
1 points.
So yeah, we'll see how this week shakes out. Looking forward to it. Longshots, you moved up to the top after we.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where I was going to end up. I was like, ooh,
wild. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about you at the top. I mean,
it threw me for a loop. I was like moving because I'm getting my hair's getting blocked by the Jason Porter ad up top. I'm like, let me move back a little bit. Like, I don't know what to do on the top screen. Lean back, but we'll make it work.
Very good. Well, any final words of wisdom for us? If you want to talk a little football, whatever, give us your final thoughts. The podium is yours. You've been on your best behavior tonight. We appreciate it. Take it away.
I just think, and I said it yesterday in the live space, but we're truly in such an awesome time of Liberty athletics. And when I was on campus from 2010 to 2013, we just missed the football playoffs every single year. We lucked into going dancing in 2013, which was a wild situation. But, just to think of what's happened, and no matter what happens in the next 48 hours with everything, there's still so much to be thankful for us to focus on. Yes, football is important. I love football, but but college basketball has been that consistent over the last 4 or 5 years on the national stage. I think the win against Mississippi State was the biggest win in any sport in school history. And I'm a believer in basketball, in what they're doing, and what they're capable of. And we had a great, we were talking yesterday about how, Richie McKay, how in 2020, if that tournament doesn't get canceled and we win the first 2 games and we get out of that first weekend, is he gone? I think yes. There's a good chance, you beat Mississippi State and then the next year you go to the Sweet 16, you're getting Power 5 looks. So, we're lucky to have him. And I'm excited about the future. I think once this team gels, we're going to be in a good spot and we're going to be having a lot of fun in March.
Yeah, I thought that was a fascinating point that you made. I hadn't really thought of it, and there was a lot less coaching changes that year too because of COVID. Teams just said, hey, let's just give this guy another year. We're in a weird spot anyways. We don't want to bring a new coach in right now. So yeah, that's a fascinating point. We'll never know the truth to that unless John Manson gives us a scoop. But yeah, fascinating thought, and hey, maybe a break. And but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the rest of the season. I think this team's good. I don't know how good, but I'm excited to find out. Mr. Longshots, pleasure as always.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of the night. We'll see you. See you on Twitter. Sure, it'll be an eventful 24.
See you, buddy. All right, Will, any final words of wisdom from the Reverend before we part this evening?
No, just, I don't know if you look at the basketball season like I do, we're in kind of chunks. And so we're past that Thanksgiving part of the season. And, I think there's still a lot of potential here for the basketball team. I still think there's a lot of, I think the best is yet to come for this team. So I'm looking forward to going through that last part of the out of conference schedule. And then, I think it really gets fun when we start with Bellarmine on the 27th and start making our way towards the ASUN tournament through the conference season. And well said by Richie Longshots. Just so thankful for Coach McKay and, staying here and coming back here. I mean, anytime we watch Liberty on TV with someone not named Matt Warner calling the game and Paul Nazigan, like that's what they always say is his second stint at Liberty. That's it's so uncommon to see something like that. So just thankful for Coach McKay and how he represents the university and how well he leads, and feels like we always have a chance to be a really great team while Coach McKay is here.
Awesome. Yeah. Big win against Bradley. I think that win is going to age very well. I think overall a really positive week for Liberty basketball this past week. Obviously, it's been great to knock off Northwestern, but if you would have told me this is the week we would have had coming in, I probably would have said, yep, sign me up. I'll take it. I think it was a good way to set up the rest of the season. Next week, we were not going to be back on Sunday night. I'm actually going to be traveling on Sunday next week. Not a lot going on, not a ton of big games. So we'll try to do these shows on Sunday night as much as possible. We might try to sneak in a show at some point midweek, maybe the week after next. We'll let you guys know if that happens. As always, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to A Sea of Red on YouTube. Really helps us continue to grow the show. All kinds of great content. A Sea of Red is your place for all the latest Freeze news. All the latest on potential coaching searches, all that kind of stuff. And, of course, Liberty basketball as well, with all kinds of press conferences and all that. Subscribe on YouTube. Sea of Red podcast also up on all your favorite podcast platforms. Subscribe there, 5-star reviews, all that kind of fun stuff. For Will, for Longshots, thanks to our guests Kyle Rode and Jason Porter, as always, for his support of the Sea of Red live show. My name is Nick. Have a great night, everyone.